Sin rarely announces itself with fire. It arrives quietly, like a habit, like a comfort, like a voice that says, tomorrow will be different. Death, however, never asks permission, and eternity does not negotiate. Beyond the last breath, beyond the fading pulse, there is a place where choices are remembered forever, a burning valley where flames breathe, shadows weep, and the soul stands alone with the truth it once ignored. He was known as someone easy to be around, a familiar face at gatherings, a voice that laughed loudly, a presence that filled rooms with stories and glasses raised high. His days followed a simple rhythm: work to earn, evenings to unwind, nights to forget. The world, to him, was heavy, and alcohol felt like the one thing that made it lighter. He lived in a modest place, its walls marked by ordinary life, mornings often slow and fogged by a regret he never named. Bottles became his companions. It wasn't always excessive at first, just enough to soften reality, just enough to escape the quiet moments where his conscience whispered. But slowly, drunkenness began to shape his personality. What began as a relief became a necessity. What began as a choice became a routine. He believed in God, but at a distance. Faith was something for later, for when life slowed down, for when he felt he was ready. He told himself he wasn't hurting anyone. He told himself he was in control. Yet there were moments standing alone at night, the room spinning slightly, when he felt a strange emptiness, a gentle but persistent sense that something was wrong. Opportunities came. A concerned friend spoke softly about change. A sermon on the radio pierced the haze one morning. Each time, he felt the pull toward the light, and each time he turned back to the darkness, convincing himself there was still time. The fall was not sudden. It was patient. Drunkenness hollowed him from the inside. Relationships thinned, trust eroded, and promises were forgotten. He became defensive when questioned, distant when loved ones worried. His laughter turned brittle. Peace became rare. Prayer disappeared, not out of hatred for God, but out of simple neglect. Spiritually, his heart grew dull. The things that once troubled him no longer did. He ignored the warnings, though, near accidents, the words of caution, the quiet conviction that followed each night of excess. Sleep brought disturbing dreams. Fire without light, voices calling his name, a sense of falling with no ground below. He would wake up shaken, swear he would change, and then pour another drink. By evening, twice, clearly, the door to repentance opened. Once, after a close friend wept and begged him to seek help, reminding him that life was fragile. He felt the truth of those words deeply, but pride answered instead. Another time, he sat alone in his car, keys in hand, feeling an unexplainable fear, a strong urge to stop, to pray, to just go home. He laughed it off, started the engine, and chose the familiar path. The night was quiet. The road was dark. His senses were dulled, his judgment blurred. There was no dramatic sound, no long struggle, just a sudden stillness, a final moment where time seemed to pause and then release him. Life ended without ceremony. Breath left. Silence followed. He awoke, but not too light. Darkness pressed against him, thick and alive. Heat wrapped around his soul, heavy and suffocating. Flames moved like a living wind, crawling across a vast valley of fire. Shadows of people writhed in the distance, their forms twisted by anguish. Hands rose from the burning ground, grasping at nothing, sinking back again. The air carried muffled screams, distant echoes of lamentation that never reached a resolution. He tried to move, but the ground burned beneath him. He tried to speak, but his voice felt small, swallowed by the vastness. Loneliness crushed him, not the absence of people, but the complete absence of God. Then, understanding came, not all at once, but like a blade slowly turning in his heart. This was not a dream. This was not just fear. This was eternity. A voice spoke, not loud, not angry, but absolute. It revealed what he already knew. He had chosen this. Grace had been offered. Warnings had been given. Time had been wasted. He cried out in late repentance, words tumbling from a broken soul. Promises, regret, please." But the flames did not part. The voice answered with truth, not cruelty. There was no return. The door he had ignored in life was now closed in death. A fell inward, crushed by memory. He saw every ignored moment, every warning dismissed, every chance he'd had to choose differently. He understood now that drunkenness had not been harmless, it had been a chain, link by link, that he had forged himself. He tried to cry out to the living, to warn them, to beg them not to follow his path. But no sound crossed the valley. His voice remained trapped within. Awareness became his torment. The clear, inescapable knowledge that this suffering was the fruit of his own choices. And in the fire, surrounded by shadows and screams, he wept not for the flames, but for the God he had ignored. Sin deceives gently. It promises relief and delivers ruin. Death arrives without warning, and eternity does not change its verdict. While there is breath, dere isope. While there is life, there is a chance for salvation. What awaits beyond the grave is shaped by what we choose before it. If these reflections speak to your spirit, remain wheat sauce and walk this path of awareness together. And as this story fades into silence, prepare your heart for the next testimony, another reminder that time is brief and eternity is near.